This conference is now being recorded.
Eric
Good
Zetz.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chairman
Stephanie
McDaniel.
Dan McElhenney, Caltrans.
April Hogue.
Mike Villalta.
Christine Chavez.
Marty Urick.
Brian Ramus.
Lloyd Pereira.
Mike Villalta.
Balwinder Singh.
Lee Lore.
Director Espinoza.
Jose Moran.
Director Espinoza.
No.
Joe Oliveira.
Ursula Stock.
Joe Oliveira.
Jean Okue.
Maybe we'll have Joy do that. Here, this is Darren. We're going to have Joy go over the list to see who, we heard the announcements, but we just want to reconfirm who is here.
Roll call.
With the roll call.
Director Aguilar. Director Creighton. Director Espinoza.
Present.
Director Hogue.
Here.
Director Lohr.
Here.
Director Murphy. Director Pereira.
Mike Murphy.
Director Pereira.
Director Pereira.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Now we can. Thank
Now
you.
we can.
Okay, I must have my volume down.
Here.
Director Villalta.
Here.
Chair McDaniel.
Present.
Shane Zhang.
This is Mike Murphy. I don't know if my name was called, but I joined.
Mike, we got you.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, thank you very much. This is the regular meeting of the MCAG Governing Board. Today's Thursday, March 19th. It's just a little after 3 o'clock. So we have something that I'd like to bring to the board right away. We have another agenda that's abbreviated that we could go through today that has mostly just the action items that are on the agenda we have before us. Do you think you'd want to just do that, or do we want to go through the whole meeting? This is our first time on a conference call like this. I'm leaving it up to you guys.
This is Director Oliveira. Yeah, I have no problem with going with abbreviated agenda.
This is Director Murphy. Abbreviated is fine with me, assuming that gets all the business done that we need for the agencies.
Correct. It
Okay.
does. Director Villalta, I don't mind the abbreviating agenda, but if we don't get an update on some of the projects that are of interest today, then hopefully we can just talk to Stacy or someone managing these projects to make sure that some of them are moving forward if it's just an informational item. Absolutely. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and we'll proceed with the abbreviated agenda.
Chair, I'd like to make a
I'd like
motion to approve the abbreviated.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Just a minute, Chair. This is Jean Okui. I'd like to give a report on our Citizen Advisory Committee meeting on March
Yeah.
6th.
You are on our abbreviated agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a review of the abbreviated agenda so you can have your agendas to mark it as we go.
Okay, so I'm going to go, this is Stacy. I'm going to can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Anybody? Okay, great. So if you
Yeah.
just want to follow along with your agenda, I will indicate what we're proposing. So we're going to skip down now to, we just went through roll call. So when I get through this part, the approval of the agenda item would be for what I'm proposing unless there's any other changes. So of course, we would continue with item 5, public comment, and then item 6, action on the minutes. We would continue with the Citizens Advisory report because Jean is on the call and is prepared for that. I did hear Caltrans, so if Caltrans wanted to provide the brief report as number 8. For number 9, the information items, we won't have any type of discussion or presentation unless there's a need to, but I don't think there's anything there contentious. We do not need to do number 10, the transportation planning update. We would, where it gets now up to the board, I would propose that for item 11, the draft overall work program budget, staff is prepared to be as brief or as extensive. I did circulate the summary. It is an info item, so we could answer questions you may have, or at that time, we'll defer to the chair and the board members of how long you would like to have that discussion or how you'd like that presented. But I would like to have that item remain, item 11. For item 12, that's an action item that we'd like to keep. 13 is an action item, but it is not time sensitive, so that is something that we can delay without any real impact to our operations. 14 is an action item we'd like to keep. Item number 15 is a Transit Joint Powers Authority update. We do not need to do a traditional report, but if at that time board members have any questions, particularly I would imagine if there's anything around the COVID situation and transit operations, Christine will be prepared to answer any questions then, but we won't do a traditional update. For item number 16, that is something that we would like to maintain on the agenda. It's an action item. For 17, that is not an action item. There's a pretty lengthy staff report in your packet, and that's an item we can bring back for discussion at another time. 18, again, we do not need to do an RWA update. There was a request to have a brief item update there that we can do very quickly, but if there's any questions from the board on COVID response or anything like that, we'll just be prepared to answer questions you may have. For item 19, that's an action that we would need to continue. So I know I went through that quickly, but those are some changes we can make, and staff is prepared to be brief and prepared to answer any questions you may have when their oral reports come up.
Thank you, Stacy. How's the board feel about that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Who was the second?
Oliveira. Go with Oliveira.
Oliveira. Hey, this is our first one, so very good. Okay.
We got roll call.
Oh, we have to do a roll call vote on everything. Even on this? The Brown Act doesn't soften that at all? Okay.
Roll call vote.
Can we just say who's for no?
Is there any opposition to this motion and second?
On the agenda.
On the agenda?
On the revised agenda.
Okay, so I take that as passing unanimously. So was that the approval of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll open it up for public comment. Anybody at this time who would like to talk about anything that's not presently on the agenda can do so now. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. The minutes, number 6, this is an action item.
Move to approve. Oliveira.
I have a motion.
Second, Silvera.
We'll go second, Laura. She beat you.
Thank
I
you.
have a first and a second. Is there further discussion on this item? Seeing none? We're gonna go ahead and do the roll call vote. Okay, Joyce, you gotta say it loud.
Director Aguilar? Director Creighton? Director Espinoza?
Yes.
Director Ho?
Yes.
Director Lohr?
Yes.
Director Murphy?
Yes.
Director Oliveira?
Yes.
Director Pereira?
Yes.
Director Silvera?
Yes.
Director Vialta?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Motion passes unanimously. So now we'll move down to item number 7, Citizens Advisory Committee Report, information only. Jean Akui. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. Okay, great. You have this in your packet, the Friday, March 6th, 2020. You can see the action items. There were 3, the minutes, the proposed 2021 voice legislative platform to include ag preservation and distribution of the San Joaquin land and water strategy reports to the delegates, and the Federal Transportation Improvement Program Amendment 13. I really appreciate you guys taking the time today and allowing this to be on the agenda. We're very grateful to the advisory committee to be working with you. At our last advisory meeting, when the one voice was discussed, a comment was made that there was nothing included in the proposed discussion about the agricultural land preservation. So after discussion, motion was made, second, and carried to recommend approval of that proposed 2020 one voice legislative platform to include the agricultural land preservation in the platform and to distribute the San Joaquin Land and Water Strategy Report to the delegates. So with the rapid growth, urban growth in our area, the concerns for solving our housing needs and the current issues of COVID-19, this report may help in connecting plan development and protection of our resources and our economic engine, agriculture. So this report by American Farmland Trust is available in a hard copy. I did make hard copies for everyone who had planned to go. I think there were 24 people, I was told. And I believe that you were given this electronically. I think it has a lot of good advice. I'd like to just end with saying that, just a quote by Will Rogers, "Show me a healthy community with a healthy economy, and I will show you a community that has its green infrastructure in order and understands the relationship between the built and the unbuilt environment." And if you have any questions of anything else in the meeting, the agenda, the notes from it, you already have. So that's it.
Thank you, Jean. I know that you got this to us a little late yesterday, and that packet will be distributed out.
Giovanna Morales.
Kyle Loretto.
And when I'm allowed out of the house, I can deliver the other copies.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have any questions for Jean? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the Caltrans report, information only. Did I hear Tom DeMoss on this call?
No, Dan McElhaney.
Oh, Dan, you're on there?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dan McElhaney, your Caltrans District 10 Director. I hope everybody's doing well, everybody's family's doing well. Thank you for this opportunity for a short update from Caltrans. Of course, we're adjusting, as all of you are, to the situation nationwide and internationally, but we are focused as essential staff for the Department of Transportation and for California. So we're going to continue to have our essential staff in maintenance as well as construction focused on the work that they're doing moving ahead. We are also looking for opportunities for a majority of our office staff to be teleworking. So we're adjusting our policies and procedures in support of all of our employees and their families as well. So staying focused on safety, goods movement during this time is also important, as the governor's executive orders have relieve truckers of their hours per day, maximum hours per day in order to free up industry to support supplies needs throughout the state. So we're making sure our roadside safety rest areas are open and are cleaned on a regular basis in support of parking and resting for our trucking industry, for instance. So we've got a lot other activities going on as well. I've got a few more updates. If you haven't noticed, we've been activating RAT meters on Route 99 in Stanislaus and San Joaquin counties. So our RAT metering program is continuing there. We have an opportunity for construction project that's out to bid, which will realign cable and 3B median barriers on I-5 near Wesley. It's a project estimate about $600,000, and with the bids will open in early April. So we're still continuing our teamwork with the construction industry during this time. Meanwhile, a few more updates. If you recall my January 16th letter to board members with our updates on the Route 152 Safety Review Task Force. We're making some in a teamwork with the mayor and CHP and city and county and school district leaders, some progress on improvements on 152, starting with signal synchronization and other traffic operational improvements this year. So we're strong moving forward. Thank you, Mayor. In Planada, Supervisor Espinosa and I have been working towards solving that Route 140 Plainsburg Road intersection, and we did have a good decision by Caltrans that we're going to put an intersection control element there, and we're getting an update on whether that's a traffic signal or otherwise here this quarter. So thank you to the supervisor and the community team there and MCAG staff. On Route 165, continuing our teamwork with the 7-member Gray and Superintendent Cabral Johnson and the school board for school zone safety working group that Stacy and I and Matt have been part of that working group and coming up with some solutions in Hillmar, right in front of the Hillmar High School and Elementary School on 165, including a traffic signal project initiated at Gear Avenue. Some really good news there. Just wanted to let you know we're still keeping focused on that, as well as Stacy and I continue to plan ahead to our executive steering committee meetings with project delivery and maintenance and other important issues to the board as our focus on a regular basis. So thank you to MCAG staff for partnership and to board members also for your partnership with me on many of these important subjects.
Thank you, Dan, very much. Are there any questions?
Yes, Director Espinoza. I just wanted to thank Director McAhaney for all his work and support and all throughout my district. He's been doing a wonderful job doing more outreach, and we really appreciate him. So I also want to have a question regarding the northbound 99 widening. Even though it was the groundbreaking was canceled, but I think that are they going to start the widening anytime soon?
Thank you, Supervisor Espinoza. Appreciate that, Director. Yes, the project is continuing in Livingston as well as the project in Atwater. So we have postponed the groundbreaking. We all hope to get back out there as early as mid-May, hopefully, but we could celebrate that project hopefully as soon as we can. But the contractors are continuing the work. I will get a little more detail from my construction staff, and I'll provide that to Stacy for sharing with the board members here in the next couple of days.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to move to item number 11. This is the draft 2020-21 overall work program and budget. This is NAV's. Nav, let's hear it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick overview of the transportation planning budget. Let me grab the slideshow. So of course we have, some administration positions that are paid partially by the transportation planning funding that we get from the federal government, the metropolitan planning funding, and then we also have positions in transportation planning, and we are proposing one new position, which would be a senior planner position. So this is for some of the high-level work in air quality planning and regional transportation planning. So we have staff to do many of the tasks, but that's something that we really are lacking at the moment. So we are proposing that one position. So that's really the major new thing. And then I think on the third slide, it just shows the org chart, and it highlights the positions that are paid for with transportation planning federal funds. And then I think the fourth slide is just a zoom in on those planning functions, the positions, the overall planning budget, including pass-throughs, and then the mandated and ongoing work. This is a big chunk of the budget, and it is every year. So there are things that we are required to do by the federal government, so we do all those things. And a lot of these have to do with getting funding to local jurisdictions and planning funding and project funding. And then the other big thing is that, some of the major projects that we're starting this fiscal year are going to be continuing into next fiscal year. And most of that is transit planning. So it's, we're calling this the year of transit. It's going to basically be 2 years of transit. So the West Side Commuter Bus Study, that was the first one out the gate. And then we have additional ones that will follow. And next fiscal year, we'll also start work on our next regional transportation plan. So that's not due for another 2 years, but it takes a while to do those. And then there's just a couple slides that talk about the revenue, and the last two slides show the revenues and expenditures. And I believe the increase in expenditures is $200,000 on the last slide, and that's the transit studies, legal services, janitorial services, and the new position, right? And Nav and I are here to answer any questions that you might have on the budget and its information at this time. And we will be bringing back the budget for adoption, the MCAG transportation planning budget for adoption next month.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any questions for Matt? Okay, that's a good one. So we'll move on to item 12 now, the 2020 One Voice program. This is an action item. Mary Michael?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Mary Michael Rawling. Well, things have changed a little bit since the board passed the program guidelines in September 2019. So you'll see in your agenda packet that we are still seeking adoption of the policy priority list and the legislative platform that's in your packet on page 46. But we are looking for board direction to cancel the trip to Washington, D.C., which was originally scheduled for the first week in May. The delegation met a couple of times, put together the platform that you see there. However, in recent weeks and in consultation with Townsend Public Affairs, the board's lobbying firm, we are recommending canceling the trip. The environment in D.C. is such that, as I'm sure many of you know, the Capitol shut down to visitors. Many offices of both agencies and policymakers are closing to meetings with the public, and many of our delegates have expressed concern with traveling across the country. I sent an email to the delegates, basically informing them of that so that they would stop planning at this point. But we are looking for an official action today. The idea with continuing on with approving the platform is that there's possible lobbying and advocacy work we could do remotely. We could still meet by phone and think about things that we could do, like letter writing campaigns or phone calls, or perhaps even remote meetings with specific agencies and jurisdictions here based on whatever the topic is. So you'll see that the Citizens Advisory Committee did approve the platform as recommended, but they did request adding the agricultural preservation piece that Jean spoke about earlier. The TRB adopted the legislative platform as recommended by staff without that addition, and also basically agreed with staff that canceling the trip was prudent at this point. So I'll stop there, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Mary Michael, or can we look for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the platform and cancel the trip.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor.
Second, Olivera.
I have a second by Olivera. Is there any further discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Public comment?
Director Ag,
What was that?
Did you ask for public comment?
No. Is there public comment on this item? Okay, then we'll call for the vote.
Director Aguilar, Director Creighton, Director Espinoza,
Yes.
Director Hogue,
Yes.
Director Lohr,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Sarah,
They're all yes.
Director Pereira,
Yes.
Director Silvera,
Yes.
Director Vialta,
Yes.
Okay, that's a unanimous. Motion passes. Thank you. So we'll skip down to item number 14, the Measure V Oversight Committee appointment. This is an action item. Mary Michael?
Yes, thank you. We have currently on the Measure V Citizens Oversight Committee 6 vacancies. We've received 2 applications for a couple of those vacancies so far. One from Lisa Kaiser Grant for the seat representing a bike, pedestrian, or transit advocacy group, and one from Paul Danbaum for the agricultural industry representative position. Their applications and resumes and bios are all in your packet for review. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Mary Michael. Are there any questions for Mary Michael on this?
I just have one, Director Pereira.
Yes.
Paul, was there a spot, Paul Danbaum had shown an interest like in biking and alternate modes of transportation, and so I was kind of surprised to see him listed as an ag rep. Can you tell me what happened?
That is the application he submitted checked the agricultural industry position that he was applying for, and he said he could have done either, but that he felt comfortable doing that more. So that's what we did, which I think it sounds great. It sounds like and looks like from his paperwork that he submitted that he has a good amount of experience in that area.
Yes. All right. Thank you for the explanation.
No problem.
Are there any other
Move to
questions?
approve.
Second,
Who motioned?
Pereira moved.
Olivera second. Olivera.
Second. I have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, let's call for the vote.
Director Aguilar, Director Creighton, Director Espinoza,
Yes.
Director Hogue,
Yes.
Director Lohr,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Olivera,
Yes.
Director Pereira,
Yes.
Director Silvera,
Yes.
Director Vialta.
Chair McDaniels?
Yes.
Yes, am I just reading this correctly? We still have a vacancy in Los Banos, is that correct? It says City of Los.
Oh.
We do not have a vacancy in the city of Los Banos. Mr. John Cates currently represents the city in that area.
Oh, it says ethnic something for John Cates. Is that separate from, the city?
Yes, it is, and he recently transitioned from that particular seat to the representative from the city of Los Banos.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that a yes, Director Villalta?
Yeah, my second yes.
Oh, we didn't catch your first one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes again.
Okay, thank you. So that's unanimous. That motion passes. So now we'll move on to the Transit Joint Powers Authority for Merced County. Item number 15. This is the monthly update from Christine Chavez.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was planning on presenting our ridership numbers that were trending upward, and I come today to tell you about the numbers that are trending downward. Our average daily ridership is about 3,500 passengers, and as of yesterday, we had about 1,900 fixed route passengers. Our paratransit ridership has dropped pretty drastically, and that's in light of some of the seniors and more vulnerable populations staying home. But we are closely monitoring ridership to see if we need to make any adjustments. As of now, there are passengers still riding, so routes are continuing as scheduled. And we're making sure that if we do reduce service that we're compliant with all of our grant requirements, both state and federal. We are taking a few measures to ensure the safety of our passengers and our operators, encouraging, 6-foot distance between passengers and the operators. We're minimizing passenger loads to 10 when possible by sending out an extra vehicle if needed, and taking extra precautions with sick passengers and sanitizing the buses in high-touch areas pretty regularly, as well as daily pool sanitation.
Thank you, Christine. Are there any questions for Christine?
If I could, Mr. Chair, I just want to add to this report that, when I had emailed the board about the measures that we're taking here downtown to help protect the public and our employees, one of the things that we've seen our jurisdictions, our member agencies close their public counters. And that's something we've been trying to, here being downtown, and especially once we followed the suit with the city of Merced and some of other jurisdictions. But our lingering issue was to make sure that there were adequate ways for transit passengers to buy passes. And we realized, came down to just one small population of non-college students, so basically high school students or younger that would ride. We've since made arrangements and have figured out that we can continue to provide those passes to them on the buses themselves. So we will not be providing counter service here downtown for ticket sales during this COVID situation, and that will allow us to be able to close the door to the public and allow our staff to continue to, that as we do this work from home, work in the office kind of hybrid, it'll be a further step to be able to protect our employees here downtown.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, we'll move on to item 16, authorize capital purchases for fleet placement. This is an action item. Christine.
Good afternoon. This is the request for authorization to replace some of the vehicles that have been funded or have been scheduled to be replaced. We are behind schedule a bit, and back when we approved the short-range transit plan, the replacement of these vehicles were scheduled. At this time, we're requesting just confirmation that we can have the spending authority to purchase the vehicles. The purchase of the vehicles would be on hold for some time, but the approval of this would allow us to start the procurement for some of the vehicles that we've received grants for, so that we can just do a bulk order and get them all ordered and in service.
And I will add, this is Stacy again, that because these were in our capital, our fleet replacement plan, the funding that we have been able to piece together over the last couple of years in preparation of purchasing these vehicles is in our capital fund dedicated to this purpose. But if between now and having to pay for them, ordering them now and the year that we'll be receiving them and paying for them, we're able to utilize new grant opportunities to offset the funding from our capital fund, we'll do that.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, I'll be looking for a motion.
Motion to approve, Silvera.
Lower second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there further discussion? Any comments from the public? We'll call for the vote.
Director Aguilar, Director Creighton, Director Espinoza,
Yes.
Director Hope,
Yes.
Director Lohr,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Oliveira,
Yes.
Director Pereira,
Yes.
Director Silvera,
Yes.
Director Vialta,
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move into Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority. This is item number 18, the monthly update. Marty Urich.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, directors. This is Eric Zetz on behalf of Marty Urich.
Hey,
quickly, hello. I wanted to bring the board an update. I have been working with a realtor on direction I was given from the board to look at properties west and surrounding Billy Wright landfill, and so we're continuing to work with a realtor right now on those properties. They have reached out to the property owners, and we're hopeful to have some report back on that information here this month. Tonnage reports for February are up. This is the highest tonnages that we've received in the last 5 years for the amounts that we've got. We've seen collectively a little over a 9% increase from both landfills. Billy Wright landfill separates itself from Highway 59 by about 80 tons in the month of February, so it was really, really good. Landfill gas to energy, just give you an update. The executive director and us, we did go into a phase 1 contract for the CM at risk. This is with MOSTEC, and so MOSTEC is a very good firm. They scored high. They've got big projects of 1.8, 3.7, 8 million, 24 million, 42 million with some high names, LAX, City of Burbank, and so currently they're working on the phase 1 part of the project. 6B1 is complete. Cow carcass disposal, we opened ourselves up to the Ag Commissioner, Dave Robinson. The County of Merced did a great job of getting us ready to receive any cow carcasses. There are none to report from that. Community cleanups, we have been impacted. We did have good showing at Highway 59 for our HHW event and our Los Banos Centinela County event there, but going forward, we are impacted. The Winton, Hillmar, South Dos Palos, and LeGrand events have been canceled by the County of Merced. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions for Eric?
Yes, Mr. McDaniels?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Marty, how are we looking on the organics?
Yeah, so the organics discussion is we're expecting in April that we will have meetings with jurisdictions. We did meet with HF&H this past Friday, and they are compiling their individual planning documents and assessments for the individual jurisdictions, and we're hopeful to get that to the jurisdictions in April.
Are we still looking at a transfer station at Billy Wright?
We will need to wait to see what the assessments are done by our consultants, both HF&H and SCS. SCS right now is compiling all of the facilities in the neighborhood of Billy Wright and also 59 to find out what facilities are available to take in this material, and then based upon what would be available, we would look at what we have for the sites. And I know that last meeting I had said that we were in some very encouraging meetings with some of our partners, and we have a tip that there might be a real value to a facility component that could come to Billy Wright, and I'm just waiting for that to be reaffirmed through the consultant work, and we should get that back here before April.
Okay, and as soon as possible, could you let Mr. Silvera and I give us a progress update on the Realtor so we can see that this thing moves forward?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Villalta. We'll bring it back to the MIC chair. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay. At this time, we'll move on to item number 19, authorization of the environmental preferable purchasing and practices policy. This is an action item. Kyle Loretto.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Board. This is Eric Zetz again on behalf of Kyle. What's before you is hello. What's before you is an action item to adopt an environmental preferable purchasing and practices policy. This is required for any grants that we apply for through Cal Recycle on our waste tire cleanup grants. The purpose of the grant is to institute practices that reduce waste by increasing product efficiency and effectiveness. Again, it is an action item. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions? This is an action item. Don't all say it at once.
Move to approve, Oliveira.
I have Oliveira on a motion.
Right.
Laura, second.
All right, I have a first and a second. Is there further discussion? Any comments from the public? At this time, we'll call for the vote.
Director Aguilar, Director Creighton, Director Espinoza,
Yes.
Director Hogue,
Yes.
Director Lohr,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Oliveira,
Yes.
Director Pereira,
Yes.
Director Silvera,
Yes.
Director Villalta,
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to other reports, and this is item number 20. This is information. I know Stacy has sent it out. Do you have more would you like to add?
No, I just want to make sure that I reiterate again, because I mentioned it in my email and earlier, but I want to make sure that it's clear that it's our intention to close our front door to the public, and to maintain our staff that needs to be here, and then to allow our personnel that is able to work from home. We've got a lot of really great tools set up, and we've been practicing all week, and it's actually been working really well. So I know I've said that in a couple, but I don't want it to be buried in a report, that is our intention as we're seeing, and we've been able to mitigate the impacts that would potentially be to the public by making sure we have signage that's going to connect them to other resources, and all passes will be able to be purchased on our vehicles.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or anything else that anybody would like to ask Stacy?
But we do expect to be business as usual. So we're all available by phone, email, everything should be regular business, just can't walk in the front door.
Any other comments? We'll go ahead and move on to item number 21, and we'll go director's comments. And I will go with Director Espinoza.
No comments. Thank you. Be safe.
Director Hogue. Okay, Director Hogue.
I have nothing at this time.
Director Lohr,
Nothing, thank you.
Director Murphy,
Nothing from me, thanks.
Director Oliveira,
Nothing here.
Director Pereira.
I would just like to tell Stacy that I'm glad you've put together a good policy on this coronavirus and staff, and would like for everybody to be as cautious and safe as possible, and that's it.
Thank you.
Director Silvera,
Nothing to report.
Director Villalta.
Well, I hope all of us are doing as well as can be expected under this, and if Los Banos can help in any way, we're sure going to try.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to do a closing comments, and I'd like to thank Mayor Mike Murphy for pulling together the mayors and some folks from the county for the update. I just want to say, at a time of trouble, Merced County is standing up along with their cities and showing their seamless communication, and we're all in this together. And I appreciate all of you for stepping up and what we're trying to do to get through this COVID. At this time, the meeting is over. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.